Ah, there you are, my dear friend. I'd hoped you might wander this way before the fire burned too low. You've arrived at just the right moment. The night has settled in its softest cloak, and the last light lingers only in memory. Come, sit, right here beside me. There's a patch of moss just wide enough for the two of us, and it remembers the warmth of the sun from earlier. It's thick, springy, and cool to the touch, almost like resting atop a woven bed of forest size. Lean back if you'd like. There's a stone just behind us. Smooth and slanted, it cradles the spine better than most chairs ever could. I've pressed my back to it more nights than I can count, always finding it unchanged and oddly kind. Breathe with me. Just for a moment. In and out. There. That's better. Can you feel it too? That hush in the air. Not silence, no, not emptiness, but a stillness full of something sacred, like the world itself is exhaling. The fire has quieted to a soft glow now. Not roaring, not demanding, just glowing. Steady, patient. Its warmth reaches only as far as we need, leaving the rest of the grove to the lanterns. Look up, if you will. Do you see them? The lanterns in the trees. They hang like golden pears from the branches, flickering gently in the breeze. Not one of them has a flame. They bloom from the trees themselves, born of bark and bloom, humming ever so faintly like crickets at rest. Their light is a comfort. Not bright, not cold, just enough to see your hands, to see my smile, to know we are not alone in the dark. The air is cool tonight, but not cruel. It carries the scent of cedar, deep, earthy, and somewhere drifting in from the far side of the glade, the faint sweetness of wildflowers, crushed under deer hooves, or drifting loose from their stalks. I sometimes think even the wind chooses to slow here, as though it too is tired of rushing. You've had a long day, haven't you? I can see it in the way your shoulders rise and fall, in the way your hands rest. There's no need to explain, no need to speak at all, unless you wish to. The grove welcomes us, as we are. This place was made for resting, or perhaps it simply became that way, shaped by all who've needed its peace. I know I did. The fire crackles just now. Did you hear? A little shift in the wood. It's as if it's answering, a warm murmur to remind us it's still here. I fed it a while ago, before the dusk fully fell. It will keep us company until the stars finish their climb. I do enjoy the stars from here. No tower ever gave me a view so complete, so close. They pierce the sky like silver thorns at first, and then slowly they open, one by one, in no hurry at all. Some of them blink, some drift, but most just keep watch, like old friends who need not speak to be understood. Yes, this is a place for breathing slowly, for letting go. You may rest your head if you'd like. The moss is softer than any feather bed I've known, and I dare say the dreams that come here are kinder too. We won't be disturbed. The grove is quiet, always. Even the owls here seem to whisper. You'll hear one soon enough, I imagine. A soft call from the higher branches, a lullaby in feathered notes. I've never seen one up close, but I like to think they know us. I like to think they approve of our company. Let your hands be still now. Let the weight you've carried settle into the earth. There's nothing more to do tonight. No armor to polish, no roads to measure. Only this moment, this warmth, this gentle hush between two souls. You're safe here, my friend. Truly, you are, and I'm glad. So very glad you've come. Let us sit a while longer, together, and say nothing at all. The world will wait. Tonight belongs to stillness. Listen to that, dear friend. Do you hear it? The brook, just beyond the rise. It's murmuring to itself again, trickling over rounded stones, slipping through cool roots and worn beds of moss, as it always has. That sound, it's like a lullaby, made by the earth itself. Steady, low, gentle, as though even the water here has learned to whisper, and it carries with it a scent. Do you catch it? Fresh, clean as linen, hung beneath a midday sun, but touched with something green, something old. The smell of stone, wet and honest. The smell of 1,000 years of flow, all without hurry. The glade around us holds its breath so softly now. Look at these trees, would you? Their trunks are pale as pearl, smooth and tall, and their bark gleams faintly beneath the lantern light. Silver-barked, I call them, though I'm not certain their kind has a name at all. I've not seen their like outside this place. Their branches bow low, not in sadness, no, but in welcome. They seem to reach toward us rather than the sky, don't they? Long limbs like arms folded over our heads, sheltering, swaying slightly, as if to cradle the air itself. And the light, the light, you saw it as we entered. Those lanterns, they aren't hung by hand. They grow from the branches, true as fruit, but not born of blossom, just soft bulbs of golden glow, half veiled by translucent petals. They don't flicker like fire, nor do they hum like flame. They just exist, a constant, pulsing calm. They warm the grove with their hush, the way a single candle can warm a whole room when one's heart is tired. Each one has its own tone, if you listen close enough. Not music exactly, not song, more like a feeling held in the air, as if each light carries a memory too gentle to form words. And when the wind shifts, those memories brush your skin like silk. Now, above us, the sky is opening. You see it, don't you? The stars, blooming like meadow flowers at dusk, one by one, tiny and soft, never clamoring for your eye, but simply waiting to be noticed. A shy unfolding, and once you've seen the first dozen, you realize the rest were already there, watching. A quiet audience stitched into the heaven. I've spent many a night beneath different skies, atop tower keeps, beneath desert canopies, on lonely ridges where the cold bites down to the bone, but none quite like this. The stars here feel lower somehow, closer to the earth, as if they lean in to listen. You may notice the way the leaves move isn't hurried. Every branch sways slowly and never in rhythm. They stir as if each were dreaming its own gentle dream. The breeze, when it comes, doesn't press or push. It passes by like a thought you nearly forgot, like a hand brushing past your shoulder in a crowded hall, soft and unintentional. Even the moths here are quiet things. You see them fluttering past, little pale wings, dappled like old parchment, gliding from lantern to lantern. They don't dash about as their kin often do. No, they drift. They float like petals caught in a sigh. Some circle the lanterns as if trying to remember them, while others simply hover in the still air, content to be near the glow. And beneath us, this moss. By the stars, I've slept on cushions in noble tents and feather beds in royal keeps, but none have held me so kindly as this. It's thick and lush, like a blanket woven from centuries. There's a dampness to it, yes, but not unpleasant. It holds the memory of rain, of storms long past, and yet it welcomes the weight of the weary without protest. It neither springs back too quickly nor flattens completely. It holds you in the way a friend does, firmly, quietly, with no demand for more. Behind us, that old stone, feel it with your back, solid and cool, smooth from age and weather, though no hand shaped it. It leans just enough to support your spine, just enough to remind you that you don't need to carry yourself tonight. You can lean back. You can let go. The glade is sacred, in its way, not because of prayer, or ritual, or myth, but because nothing here rushes. Nothing asks anything of you. The trees don't speak, yet they understand. The light does not guide, yet it comforts. The brook does not offer direction. It simply continues, as it always has, and all of it exists without needing to be seen. This place does not perform. It does not impress. It simply is. And somehow, that's more than enough. It reminds me, if I may speak honestly, dear friend, it reminds me what the world was like before duty, before edges, before roads and maps and causes, when one could simply exist beside another, saying nothing, and still be fully known. There are no banners here, no watchmen, no trumpets in the dark, only the soft echo of belonging passed between leaf and stone, water and wing. Sometimes, when I come here alone, I speak aloud, not for answers, not for counsel, but just to hear my voice softened by the world around it. And now that you're here beside me, it feels fuller, as if this grove has waited for company. Let us linger then. Let your eyes rest where they will, on the slow drift of a moth's flight, the curling edge of a root, or the tiny droplets that cling to a fern's tip like crystal tears. Let your ears tune not to speech, but to sound, the sound of the forest thinking, breathing, waiting. There is no time here, no bell to chime, no gate to close, no moment to miss. Just this, just now. And should you find your eyes growing heavier, or your breath drawing deeper, know that the grove holds you, that I am beside you, and that, for tonight at least, the world has no need for your worry. Rest in the knowledge that peace is not a thing we chase, but a thing we remember. And here, beneath these trees, beside this brook, under this sky, we remember it well. So let us be quiet now. Let the stars continue their bloom, the lanterns their gentle glow, and the moss its silent song. We are here, and here is enough. Yes, that's better, isn't it? The fire's just warm enough, the air just cool enough, and the moss, well, it's as soft as it's ever been. I suppose I ought to tell you a little more about myself. Not the sort of telling you'd find in a hall of records or stitched into a banner, mind you. No grand tales, no titles, just the quiet truths, the ones that settle in your bones over time, the ones you only ever share beside someone you trust. You see, my back aches more than it used to. Especially at the base, just above the hips, that spot that remembers every saddle, every long night beneath the stars, every time I chose stone over straw because there was no other choice. It's a dull sort of ache, not sharp, not cruel, just constant. Familiar, like a companion that never quite leaves, even when uninvited. And my shoulders, they carry more than weight now. There's a tightness there that doesn't come from armor anymore. It's the kind of wear that settles in when you've carried too many years, Too many memories, too many names, whispered into the dark. The leather I wear, it's old, older than most would guess. Worn smooth in places, fraying at the edges. There's a crease across the chest, where I once folded it too hastily, and a patch on the sleeve where a friend once stitched it closed by firelight. I've kept it not for protection now, but for presence. It feels like a part of me, as if it's learned the shape of who I've become. I suppose I could have left it behind. I've had offers, fine cloaks, robes of silk, tokens from lords and ladies who thought kindness meant replacement. But no, this leather carries the scent of rain, of sun, of travel. It creaks when I move, like a whisper reminding me I'm still here. You may wonder perhaps what I was, what crest I bore, what banners I followed, what castles I stood watch for. But truthfully, those things matter less to me now than they once did. Titles are loud and I've grown fond of quiet. Honor still lives in me, yes, but it hums, it doesn't shout. And I did serve. Oh yes, I served. Years I gave. Seasons upon seasons. Some in warmth, some in frost, most in a sort of in-between. I was never quite the best, but I was steady, reliable. I stood where I was placed. I watched, I waited, I walked ahead when the road was rough, and when others fell behind, I sat with them until they could rise again. I don't regret it, not any of it. Even the long nights, even the cold ones, they shaped me, as all things do. But I'll tell you something, dear friend. Something that only age and distance can teach. I've come here not to remember duty, but to remember life. To remember the feel of fresh bread still warm in the hand, torn and shared without a word. The low hum of bees in summer meadows, where my horse paused to drink. The sound of children giggling beneath castle walls as they tried to mimic swordplay with sticks. The smile of a stable hand who always hummed the same song when brushing down the mares. And the hand, so many hands I've held, some in farewell, some in greeting, some in silent understanding. There was once a boy too young for battle, too brave for peace, who pressed a carved button into my palm and said it would keep me safe. I still have it, somewhere deep in the folds of this satchel, not for the charm, but for the trust. These are the things I think of now, not battles, not banners, but moments, quiet ones, slender, flickering things that most would overlook, but that I now hold like lanterns in the dark. And now, here you are, sitting beside me, your presence as steady and soft as the moss beneath us. I can't say what brought you to this glade, only that I'm glad for it. The night feels fuller with you here, the silence less solitary. You have the kind of stillness that doesn't demand attention, but offers comfort simply by being. I value that more than you know. We spend so much of our lives proving, don't we? Proving we're strong, or useful, or right. But here with you, I don't feel the need to prove anything. I can simply be, and I hope you feel that too, that this glade, this night, this moment, asks nothing of you, but your presence, that you're allowed to simply exist, breathe, rest. I've shared this space with a few companions over the years. Not many. It's not the sort of place you stumble upon unless you're meant to. Some sat in silence. Others spoke freely. Some cried. One laughed so heartily. The birds fled the branches. Each left something behind. though no one ever meant to. A sigh, a thought, a pause long enough to be called a prayer. And now, tonight, it's your turn. Whatever you choose to bring into this quiet is welcome. I find myself softer these days, not weaker. No, not that, but gentler, slower. I look for meaning in smaller things. Now the bend of a leaf, the pattern of ripples in the brook, the way dusk lingers on the edge of a lantern's glow. I used to chase answers. Now I listen for them, and often they come not as words, but as a feeling, a knowing that settles deep without ever rising to the tongue. I suspect you understand that. There's a kindness in your eyes, a tiredness too, perhaps, but not the brittle kind. Yours is a quiet tiredness, one that longs not for escape, but for ease. And I wish with all my heart that you find it here, that this night wraps around you like a familiar cloak and reminds you of gentler days. Or maybe it simply allows you to forget the harder ones for a while. I am glad you're here, truly, not just for company, but for what your presence brings to this space, for what it awakens in me. A remembrance, yes, but also a hope. That even now, after all this time, there are still quiet joys to be shared, still warmth to be found, even in the twilight. So come, let us lean back, let our shoulders settle, let the night unfold around us, slowly like a book written by stars. And if you find sleep tugging at your thoughts before my words are through, that's all right. That's a gift. Let it take you. I'll be here still, watching the lanterns sway, listening to the brook, and thinking of the kindness it is to be known, and not alone. Yes, I think the lantern should rest just there, nestled against the curve of that old root beneath the hanging leaves. What do you think, my friend? A good place, isn't it? The ground dips a little, like a cradle, like it was waiting for something to be placed there. That's my small task for this evening. Nothing grand, nothing burdened with ceremony, just a quiet thing, a final lantern lit in the grove, not for guidance, not for show, but for remembrance. A soft offering, if you will, not to the stars, nor the spirits, nor even the grove itself, but to those who once passed through the old mountain road I stood watch over. Travelers, pilgrims, wandering souls, people whose names I may not have known, but whose presence I've carried like candlelight ever since. You see that pass? It wasn't much. A narrow winding trail between two ridges barely wide enough for a cart, and often cloaked in mist. I was posted there for longer than most might find sensible. Some would say it was a quiet duty. But I never thought it dull. It was a place of passage, a place of pause. So many came through, alone or in pairs, in caravans, or on tired horses. Some sang, some wept, some said nothing at all. But each left something behind. A gesture, a glance, a scent, like stones gently placed in the folds of time. I remember them, not their names, always, but the feeling of them. And tonight, I just want to give something back. Would you help me gather a few things? Not much, just some fallen branches, soft bark, and a few of those smooth stones that line the edge of the brook. Not the large ones, just the round ones, worn flat by the water's long embrace. Here, feel this one. Still damp, isn't it? Cool to the touch. Like holding a memory. I imagine this stone has been waiting a long time to be part of something again. Ah, and this branch, yes, that will do. Not too brittle, still has a bit of moss clinging to it. I like that. It feels alive. You see, the lanterns of this grove aren't made the usual way. There's no wax, no wick, no glass. Just a base, a kindling of intention, and a hollow carved with care. The light blooms all on its own, if you treat it gently. Some say it responds to longing, others say it listens to stories. I don't pretend to know which is true. I only know that it's never failed to glow when offered from the heart. Let's begin then. We'll arrange the stones in a loose ring, no sharp edges. Just enough to hold the center, like building a little nest. A resting place. Each stone is a word unspoken, a glance returned, a kindness received and remembered. There was a girl once, a child, no more than 10. She came through the pass with her older brother, both of them bundled in cloaks too large, riding a pony too small. They stopped by my post, just before sunset, shivering from the wind. I gave them bread and let them sit by the fire. The boy said little. He was cautious, wary. But the girl, oh, she smiled with her whole face. She asked me if I ever got lonely, sitting up there in the clouds. I told her no, not when people like her came through. And she laughed, a laugh like spring water spilling over stone. Before they left, she tucked a pine cone into my hand, said it was lucky. I kept it for years. It finally crumbled, but I still think of her when I smell pine on the breeze. And then there was a baker, an older man with flour in his beard and eyes that knew how to twinkle. He passed through every autumn, bringing honeyed cakes wrapped in linen. Said the pass was his thinking place. He'd pause halfway through and sit on the highest rock, just staring at the trees turning gold. He never asked for protection, only a quiet nod. I think he found peace there. I know I did. And the scent. There was one winter a caravan brought pies. Dozens of them, carried in straw-lined crates. Plum, pear, even one with rosemary and goat's cheese. The scent drifted down the road before the wheels did. I remember standing in the cold, eyes closed, breathing in that warmth like it was a prayer. I helped them patch a broken axle, and they left me a pie in return. I ate it slowly. Every bite tasted like kindness. I think of those moments often, not for their weight, but for their gentleness. That's what lingers, isn't it? Not the thunder of hoofbeats or the clang of armor, but the quiet things, the passing touches, the small exchanges of warmth. Now, the base is ready. The stones are in place, and the branches rest lightly in the center, shaped like a cradle. All that remains is the hollow. Here, this small round gourd, found it beneath the lantern trees. Feel its surface smooth as polished horn, and hollow already. Just a slit at the top where the light will emerge. We place it gently in the center, like an ember waiting to catch. There. That's it. No match. No flint. We don't force it. We simply. Sometimes it takes a moment. Sometimes the light wants a word. So I speak softly, not to command it, but to offer myself. I tell the grove. I remember the little girl who smiled in the snow. I remember the baker and his quiet pies. I remember the songs hummed by tired lips, and the stories whispered in shared shelter. I remember every hand that offered warmth, every eye that met mine with gentleness, and I thank them, each and every one. That is the lantern's kindling, not flame, but thank. Look, my friend, do you see? There, it begins, a glow, soft as the first morning light through a frost-laced window, pale gold blooming from within the gourd. No heat, no flicker, just presence. Steady, sure. The lantern is awake. It will stay lit now as long as it's meant to. Some glow for a season, others for a century. No one truly knows. But this one is for them, and for me, and if you don't mind, for you too, because you're part of this now. You gathered the stones, you placed the branch, you listened. That matters more than you know. This wasn't a task I needed help with, but I'm grateful for it. Grateful for your hands beside mine, for your silence, for your breath mingled with mine in the cold air. A quest, yes, though not the kind sung by minstrels. No dragons, no riddles, just remembrance. Let's sit here a while longer. Let the lantern glow, let it warm the moss, let it remind us of all that has passed. Not with sorrow, but with softness. The world often asks us to move faster, speak louder, carry more. But not here, not tonight. Here, the only quest is presence. And that we've done well. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for sharing the quiet with me. Yes. The lantern burns steadily now, soft and golden, as though it were born from a memory rather than from fire. The grove feels different when it glows like this, doesn't it? Quieter somehow, though it was already still. It's as if the trees are listening, as if the air itself has curled in close to hear what comes next. I think that's why I like to speak here, not to be heard, but to be understood. The grove doesn't judge, it simply receives. Would you mind if I shared a few stories with you, my friend? Not tales of heroism or legend, not tonight. No, these are gentler things, little pieces of the road that I carry in my chest, like polished stones kept in a pocket, warmed by touch. There was a baker once. Well, a miller turned baker, really. He lived in a village just beyond the pass, nestled where the hills began to soften into fields. He was stout, with a voice that hummed like a kettle, and a laugh that always arrived just before the joke. Every morning, as the sun crested the eastern ridge, he'd carry his bread cart down the trail toward the market town. And each time he passed the guard post, my guard post, he'd sing, not words, mind you, just melodies, little tunes from his childhood, I suppose, or perhaps ones he invented on the spot. They were never quite the same, but they always floated through the mist like ribbons. And every time, without fail, he'd pause beside me and say, that one was for the birds, or that one's meant for the stones. Once I asked him why he sang at all, with no one around to listen. He shrugged and said, because the road is realer when it has music in it. I didn't understand then, but now I think I do. And then there was an old woman, her back bent nearly in half, eyes sharp as flint, hands that trembled when still, but never when working. She lived alone in a crooked little hut, tucked beside a stream. I'd see her once or twice a year, passing slowly on foot with a basket of herbs and dried lavender. She never said much, but one afternoon near the end of autumn, she stopped where I sat beside my fire, rummaged through her basket, and pulled out a small wooden spoon, carved, finely, though worn. The kind of thing someone might use to stir porridge every morning for a lifetime. She handed it to me, without a word. When I asked why, she only said, a good spoon remembers the rhythm of the hand that held it. Let it remember yours. I kept that spoon in my pack for years, used it to stir every stew, every pot of tea. It grew darker with age, smoother with use. And sometimes, when the road was long and the nights too quiet, I'd hold it and feel the presence of her steady hands through mine. Not magic, just memory. Not all companions had words, though. There was a dog once, or perhaps he belonged to no one. No name, no collar. He was just there one morning, sitting at the edge of my campfire, head tilted, eyes solemn. A scruffy thing, with a tail that wagged in small, hesitant arcs. He followed me. Not closely at first. Just near. Always nearby. Through the first winter, he'd vanish for a day, then return with burrs in his coat and a look that said, "Yes, I left, but only for a little while." By the second winter, he stayed by the fire each night, curled beside my pack. Never asked for food, but I always gave him some. By the third, he'd grown old, gray about the snout, slower in the step, but still there every morning, watching me as if to say, "I'll walk with you, as long as you walk." Then one night, he didn't return. I waited 3 days, called his name, though he never had one. He didn't come, and still, sometimes when I sit beside a fire like this, I feel him. Not in a ghostly way, just a warmth beside me that isn't flame. He was never mine, but he was with me. That's enough. And then there was the lake. The lake. It sat high in the northern ridges, hidden from all but those who knew the path. I found it by accident, or perhaps it found me. I was following a fox, believe it or not. Just curious. I crested a rise, brushed through some reeds, and there it was, still as glass. And the moon. The moon had caught itself in the water so perfectly that for a moment I thought I was staring into the sky. I stepped to the edge and looked down, and I swear to you, dear friend, it didn't feel like a reflection. It felt like a doorway, like I could step through the surface and rise into some other world where all things were gentle, and time moved like honey poured in winter. I sat there for hours, not thinking, not praying, just watching, until the moon slid westward and the image melted back into ripples. I've never found that lake again. I've searched, but sometimes I think it only shows itself when you're not looking for anything. Strange, isn't it? And once in a forest much like this, I spent a night beneath a willow that bent so low its branches touched the stream beside it. That night all the owls, dozens of them, began hooting at once. Not a cacophony, no. It was rhythmic, layered, like a choir of breath and feather, as though they were laughing or singing. I remember lying back and laughing too, not because I understood it, but because it made me feel less alone. That sound, the sound of joy that expects no answer, it stayed in my chest for weeks. Even now, sometimes I catch myself humming in the same cadence without realizing. Funny, what stays? These stories, they're not heroic. No blades drawn, no victories won, no songs written for them, but they shaped me, not in the way stone shapes a wall, more like how water shapes the shore, slowly, gently, over time. I think that's what matters most, in the end. Not what we build, or break, or become known for, but what we notice, what we remember, and how those quiet moments soften the parts of us that were once sharp. The lantern agrees. I think, see how it flickers, just a little, not in warning, in acknowledgement, as if it too has felt the presence of these memories. The grove holds them now, not just mine, yours too perhaps. Whatever you've carried here, Whatever lives quietly in the folds of your heart, it belongs here, in the hush, in the glow, in the space between words. You don't need to speak it aloud. This place already knows how to listen. Let's sit with that, you and I. Let the breeze touch our faces. Let the moths drift past. Let the stars eavesdrop. And if sleep begins to tug at your thoughts, that's all right. Let it. These memories won't leave. They live here now, wrapped in gold and moss and moonlight. And I'll still be speaking, even if your eyes close before I finish. That's the beauty of stories like these. They don't need endings, just gentle pauses. And this is one of them. My voice slows now, as you might have noticed. Not because there's less to say, but because there's no need to hurry the saying. Words, when spoken softly enough, become more like breath than speech. And breath, my dear friend, breath is where the truest stories live. I've been thinking quietly, slowly, about remembrance. It seems the older I get, the more I realize how little truly fades. Not if it's remembered gently, not if we let it remain soft. You see, I used to think memory was something carved like stone, firm and certain, sharp at the edges, fixed. But that's not quite true, is it? Memory is more like water, I think, always shifting, but never gone. It shimmers differently depending on the light, depending on who's watching. Sometimes it offers a clear reflection, other times just ripples, but it's always there somewhere beneath the surface. What matters is how we hold it, whether we carry it like a burden or cradle it like a lantern. I've tried to cradle mine, especially in recent seasons, even the ones that once stung, even the ones I once turned from. I've found that when I return to them softly, without judgment, they return to me softer too. Less like shadows, more like echoes of who I've been. There's comfort in that, I think. And change, oh change, it comes whether we call it or not, like the tide or the dusk. You can't plead with it. You can only open your arms and let it wash over you. I used to resist it, you know. I'd pretend I hadn't grown slower, that my hands didn't tremble more in the cold, that the weight I once bore with ease didn't now sit heavier on my shoulders. But the truth is, there's a kind of grace in softening. To age is not to vanish, it's to become quieter in one's knowing. I've come to see it like the bark on the elder trees, thick and lined, yes, but strong, tested. And those lines, well, they tell a story, don't they? Not a loud one, a silent one, a story of seasons endured and winds weathered, and roots that held through storms. I feel like that now, rooted, not rigid, not brittle, just steady. And with that steadiness has come peace, not the peace of an empty field or a still room, but the peace that comes from forgiveness. Ah, yes, forgiveness. We so often speak of it like a gift we give to others. And it is. But I think the harder forgiveness, the one that takes longer, quieter work, is the kind we offer ourselves for what we didn't know, for what we couldn't do, for the times we fell short of who we hoped to be. I've learned to look back at the younger version of myself, not with shame or scorn, but with kindness. I think of him as someone I've cared for, someone I've traveled with, and though he made mistakes, he tried. He truly did, and perhaps that's enough. You too, dear friend, you have your own past, your own paths wandered, your own old versions of self tucked away like letters in a drawer. I hope with all gentleness, that you can look back on them not with harsh eyes, but with a soft heart. You were learning. We all are. Oh, there is no end to it, really. No moment where we wake and know all we were meant to know. We are a slow bloom, unfolding one petal at a time. Sometimes we open in sunlight, sometimes in shadow, and always with some new shape still waiting to unfurl. That's what makes being alive such a tender thing. That uncertainty, that openness, and sleep. Sleep, I believe, is the gentlest teacher of them all. It asks nothing of us, requires no explanation. It's the only time we are fully allowed to rest without guilt, to slip away from striving, to be held by something deeper than thought. Sleep doesn't demand understanding, only surrender. It's a kindness, really, a balm, a way of saying, you've done enough today. Come now, let the world hold you. And I wish that for you now, that you feel held by this grove, by this moment, by the warmth of the lantern light, and the hush of the trees, and the sound of my voice, slowing to a whisper. Let this be a place where you don't have to be anything. Not brave, not wise, not strong, just here. Let your breath settle, as mine has. Let your bones loosen. Let your thoughts drift like mist over the water's edge. If a memory comes, greet it gently. If a worry lingers, thank it for its concern, and let it rest beside you without urgency. There is nothing to fix tonight, nothing to figure out, only this, breath and warmth and a stillness that does not judge. Sometimes, when I'm very still like this, I imagine the stars are listening, not watching, not measuring, just listening to the beating of our hearts, to the stories we carry, to the love we've tried to give, even clumsily. They don't need us to be perfect, only present. And in this quiet beneath the silver-leafed canopy, beside the murmuring brook, beneath the glow of the lanterns, I feel as though the world itself is giving us permission to rest, to soften, to let go. And so I do, and I hope you will too. My eyes, they've begun to close now, not in weariness, but in ease. I'll keep speaking a little while longer, just in case you're still awake. But if you're drifting already, know that I'm with you still. You're not alone, not in this grove, not in this quiet, not in this life. You are seen and known and deeply, deeply welcome. Let the hush carry you now. Let the stillness wrap around you like wool. Let the thoughts that once knocked at your door simply pass by like travelers on another path. This is your moment of peace. You've earned it. You always have. And I'm so very glad you've shared it here with me. Now, close your eyes if you haven't already. Breathe, let go, and rest, dear friend. Rest. There, it's done. The lantern is placed, resting just where the root curves in like a cradle. And look at that. It's taken to the light. See how it glows. Soft gold, touched at the edges with silver, like morning frost just beginning to melt. It doesn't flare, doesn't flicker. It simply glows. Steady, gentle, as if it knew it was always meant to be here. I watch it sway slightly in the breeze, and it reminds me of a lullaby hummed without words. The kind mothers sing while folding blankets or stirring pots. The kind you don't need to understand to feel safe inside. This grove, it has accepted the light, and in doing so, it's accepted me. I feel that. Truly I do. There's a looseness in my chest now, as though a cord once pulled tight has at last been untied. It's subtle, not like a gate flung wide, but more like the slow exhale after a long-held breath. Do you feel it too? The grove is deeper now, the night fuller. It's as if the world has leaned in a little closer, not to watch, but to wrap itself around us like a soft woolen cloak. The stars have settled into their places above us, blooming quietly one by one, each holding their silence like a vow. No need to shine brighter, no need to be seen. Just there, just being. The fire's nearly out, and that's all right. The lantern gives us enough. And you give more than you know, not through any task or deed, or word spoken, but through your presence. You've sat with me, you've listened, you've breathed in the same hush. And in this world, my friend, that is a gift, not a small one. I think sometimes the greatest kindness we can offer isn't found in answers or advice, but in simply being beside someone. Just being, without asking them to be anything other than what they are. You've done that for me tonight. You've been here, not as a squire, nor a subject, nor a traveler passing through, just as you. And for that I thank you. Truly, not for helping light the lantern, not for keeping watch or mending gear or tending the flame, but for something deeper, for sharing the silence. There's something holy in that, something sacred, the kind of quiet that's full, not empty, the kind of quiet that cradles rather than weighs, the kind that reminds us we're never quite alone, not when we allow another to rest beside us. My breathing has slowed now. You might hear it if you're still awake, deep and even, drawn from low in the belly, like the wind weaving through reeds. It feels good, this slowing. There's no rush now, no next task, no command waiting at door. The world outside this glade may turn and churn, but in here, it pauses. Even the grove is quieter than before. Do you hear it? The leaves no longer rustle. They murmur. The brook beyond the stones has softened its voice to a murmur, as though trying not to wake the earth. And the moths, they float now, not fly, as if they too are beginning to dream. I think this moment, this stillness, is what all journeys lead to in the end. Not triumph, not fanfare, but rest. Rest that's earned, rest that's shared, rest that feels like a homecoming. Not to a place, but to a part of ourselves. We've kept waiting all this time, and now, here we are. The lantern glows. The moss welcomes our wait. The night draws its blanket tighter around our shoulders. I've curled my cloak around me. You may have noticed, it's an old thing, patched at the seams, frayed at the corners. Smells faintly of smoke and heather and long-forgotten rain. But it knows me. It's softened with the shape of my rest. And tonight it holds me just right. I hope whatever wraps around you now, blanket, breeze, memory, or moonlight, feels just as kind, just as true. I won't speak much longer. Not because I don't wish to, but because the words have begun to settle too. Like embers drifting low, still warm but content to flicker in silence. The lantern sways again, just a little, as if nodding, as if agreeing, and I think of all the nights that led to this one. The fires I've sat beside, the skies I've looked up into, the names I've whispered to the wind, and somehow all of it feels close now, all of it here, in this one golden glow, in this one shared hush, in this single breath we take together. If sleep comes to you now, let it. If it's already come, I'll speak into your dreaming, softly, gently, without end. You are safe. You are seen. You are enough. You always have been. So let the grove hold us now. Let the stars keep their watch. Let the moss remember our shape, so that even in our absence it knows we were here. And let the lantern glow, not for the world to see, but simply for the peace it brings. Can you hear it? The hush has settled now, fully, like a great woolen blanket drawn across the grove, tucking in every leaf and root and stone. Even the breeze seems to tiptoe now, soft-footed between branches, careful not to disturb the hush we've made together. The fire has quieted to its final breath, just embers now, warm and dim, like old memories glowing low beneath the ashes. They flicker from time to time, as if exhaling a sigh too soft for words. And the lantern still sways. Not much, just barely. A slow, steady rhythm as if keeping time with your breath. Or mine. Or perhaps the earth's itself. This is the part of the night I love best. Not the lighting of the lantern, not even the telling of stories, but this sacred, silent ending. The moment when everything knows it's time to sleep. You, my dear friend, you are safe. That word, safe. I don't say it lightly. I've stood in places where it was only a wish, a hope whispered behind closed doors. But here, in this grove, it is a truth. You are held by the earth beneath us, still and cool, by the stars above, bright but never demanding, by the moss beneath your shoulder, and by me beside you, still and soft. You are seen, and not for what you do, not for what you carry, but for who you are when you allow yourself to rest. You are never alone. The trees, they remember. They've watched over many before us. Other wanderers, other fires, other whispered names, and they will remember you too. Not your footsteps, not your voice, but your stillness, your breath, the stars remember as well. Even when clouds hide them, they hold their place. Constant quiet. They do not waver when we feel small. They shine whether we see them or not. And me, I'll remember too. Not your deeds, though I'm sure they are many. Not your burdens, though I know they may be heavy. I'll remember this moment. The way your breath slowed beside mine. The hush we shared, that will be enough. So let the world sleep now. Let the grove hum its lullaby. Let the lantern glow for as long as it wishes. There is nothing more to do tonight. Nothing to hold. Nothing to be. Only this stillness. Only this peace. Good night, dear friend. Let the quiet carry you. Let the darkness wrap you gently. Let yourself drift. I'm here, and all is well. All is well. Sleep.